is the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. To learn more about Next Level Loan Officers, go to becomnl.com.
Hey, this is Frazier with Lead Pops and Next Level, and I'm proud to present this episode of the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. Lead Pops is the industry's only future-proof growth solution. You can check us out at leadpops.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. My name is Sean Zalmanoff, and I have a special guest today with a story unlike any that you've heard before, that it will make you not just a better loan officer, but a better person for listening to this and add some pretty darn interesting perspective in our world. So we appreciate you all joining our podcast, the number one podcast for loan officers by loan officers in this great land, country, galaxy, universe that we know it today. And I'm joined by John Torrijos. John?
Hey, thanks for having me, Sean. I'm excited about this. Looking forward to sharing the story.
So first of all, before we get into the story, just so people know, how many years have you been in the industry? What do you do? How many loans do you close on average? Just so people understand a little bit more about you. And then we're going to fall back to late 21 and tell everybody what happened.
So I've been in the industry approximately, I'm in my 23rd year. So started way back when, came up through the time when the whole 05, 06, 07, it got a little nasty there. And thank God we made it through that, and have been in it ever since. Since 2010, it's just been a great ride. In this industry that everybody's been waiting for the market to crash, it hasn't crashed since 2010. So it's still moving strong, but that's a little bit about me there. Been in it 23 years. My typical production is anywhere, I'm not a super high producer, but I'm in that 20 to 30 million range, which is it's been a great living over the years. We typically in our area, that can be anywhere from 60 to 80 deals a year, 90 deals a year. So it's varied over the years, but it's just me and an assistant that I use at the company. But that's pretty much my journey. Right now I'm part of I'm a broker. We're kind of a hybrid where I work with excuse me. I work with a company where I guess you would call us like a mini core and a broker.
Sure.
So we have the kind of the best of both worlds there. I tend to broker more of everything. I love that process quite a bit better. So that's kind of where I'm at in the business.
You said the area that you're in, that's 60 to 80 loans. Where do you live?
Oh, I'm in Southern California. I'm in the Riverside area. My office that I work out of is in Costa Mesa in Orange County.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So 60 to 80 loans, 20 to 30 million. That's a really good life. You've been doing that for a long time. A lot of people listening can relate. They've been doing it alongside of you. They hope to be closing that much business for that long, but not due to the market, due to some crazy health things that happened. You closed 8 million last year in 2022. And we were talking, that's pretty much just by the grace of God. So take us back to the end of 21. Tell us what happened. And, I want everybody, as you're listening right now, pay full attention, not to the numbers, but to the story, because the perspective that John's going to give you for what he went through in life and where he is now is something that, as we're complaining about not having enough leads, or an appraisal that took too long, or an underwriter that didn't see things our way, his story is going to make you realize that those things just aren't quite as important as we sometimes make them out to be.
Yeah, I'll definitely start on this. So before I go on, I just want to mention that that everything I've been through is all through God. You know, I'm a Christ believer. I stand on that, and that's why I believe I'm still here today. So back in 21, August of 21 to be exact, my dad got COVID. So my dad was 75 at the time. Went to stay with him. I told my wife, you know, my dad lives with my nephew, but nobody there really to take care of him. So I went and stayed with my dad for 5 days while he battled COVID, and he had it pretty good, and he was going through it. So I stayed with him, kind of made sure he was eating, made sure he was taking his medication, just there. And on the 5th day, as I was going to come home, I got my first symptom of thinking, wow, you know, I think I might be coming down with something, no big deal. That was a Tuesday. It's so funny. I was actually signing up for a Spartan race that day that I was going to do with my sons in October. And I said, you know, I'm going to hold off just in case I get this COVID thing. Might last a couple of weeks, but who knows? So I come home on Tuesday. Wednesday, I get this splitting headache that I've never felt before. um, so I just kind of deal with that throughout the day. Now I'm getting back to work because, you know, August of 21, we're super busy, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think during that time, I had about 18 deals in the pipeline at that time, and I was just slammed. So I needed to get back to work. So I get back to work, get this massive headache, test the following day on Thursday. Sure enough, I have COVID. So I'm thinking, okay, this is a real bad flu. It's going to get through me, hopefully in a few days. Um, uh, Sunday, I started feeling a little better, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I went downhill. So a week later from me coming home, I'm in the ER with my oxygen levels at 76. Um, my wife,
So for
dropped
those
me
of
off
you that don't know or don't monitor that, your oxygen levels should be like above 95%.
right, right. Yeah, it's and you learn about that
Yeah.
when you go through this.
I wear a Whoop, so
Yep,
like I monitor. I'm kind of a
yep.
health. I'm a nerd about a lot of things, but I like my health data.
I have one of those ones I just carry around with me now. That's just part of life. So my wife drops me off at the ER. That is the last time we see each other for probably the next a little over a month or so. Um, I go in, I'm in the hospital for 10 days. And you know, I could tell you so many details, but I'll just bypass all of that. I get worse and worse. On the 10th day, the charge nurse, who by the grace of God happens to be a family friend of ours, I've done loans for him and his family. My wife works with his wife. Now he wasn't able to technically treat me, but he was checking in on me this day. And he said, hey brother, I'm going to call the ICU. It might be time for you to go on the ventilator. So this is after 10 days in the hospital. So I'm like, okay. I said, if it was your family, would you do it? He goes, I would. I'm like, all right, well, what are my chances? He goes, probably 50-50. You know, I mean, so
Whoa.
I'm staring this straight in the face, and
Your
I
friend's
don't
telling
think,
you got a 50-50 chance to live right now?
yeah, he was being super optimistic, you know, at that point. Mind you, I've known this guy for probably 15 years, you know, so we're friends. We know each other, and he's having to tell me this. So imagine from his perspective how hard that must have been. Um, I said, all right, I got this big old mask on my face because it's helping me breathe, and I said, let's get my wife on the phone. Let's get Gina on the phone, FaceTime. So she was actually outside the hospital. This was about 6 in the evening, and this was a Saturday. She was actually outside the hospital waiting for a bunch of people were starting to show up. She was doing prayer vigils outside the hospital. Earlier that day, they had about 70 people at the hospital praying, not just for me, but for the hospital staff, for the people that were in the hospital, you know, just out there, just having prayer and worship. You know, that's where we come from. You know, prayer is going to get us through this. So I called my wife and I said, hey babe, so I'm going on the ventilator. And she, you know, the woman that she is, she said, hey, we got this. She's surrounded by our friends, you know, people that are in our life group that we host, and she's surrounded by these people. And they asked her, do you want privacy? She's like, no, I don't want privacy. We're all in this together. This is our story. This is our journey, So we tell her, go on the ventilator. I end up being on the ventilator for 38 days. So and I
So are
was
you conscious during the entire time you're on
no.
the film?
What? No. But I will. I mean, you're not conscious. You're heavily sedated. I joke around. I mean, and I don't know if it's true or not. But I always say like, hey, I was in a medically induced coma. I don't know if that's true or not. But I'm heavily sedated. And I will tell you, being on a ventilator, you have these nightmares. Like, and I'll just keep it short. But I felt like I was just being tortured this whole time. It was just a crazy. I could talk to you offline about that, Shaw, but it was a crazy experience. That
38 days of torture probably feels like 4 lifetimes of torture.
it really felt like several lifetimes. Yes. So I'm on that, and I can tell you when they ended up extubating me, putting a trach in me in my neck, and that was September 11th. Still on the ventilator. So I guess they moved me to another facility around September 14th or 15th, and they start trying to take me off the medication. It took about 2 weeks before I realized where I was, what was going on. So we're talking the end of September. My birthday is September 29th. I turned 52 in the hospital, at that in 21, and I'm coming off the vent. I wake up. I can't move my legs. I can't lift my arms. My son comes. Now they're finally able to see me at this point because I'm in a different facility. My son lifts my arms. I can't hold him. So around October 14th or 15th. So I'm just going through all of this. I'm not eating, mind you. Hadn't eaten in 2 months. I'm just had a feeding tube. So around October 14th is the first day they try to get me out of bed and put me in a wheelchair to try to take a couple of steps. I felt like there was a 1,000-pound giant on me. I went from great shape, 180 pounds. I was 5'9", 180. I had just finished the 75 hard program in June 4th. August 18th, I was in the hospital. So
thank God you did.
Yeah, and they said that's part of what helped me. I was in great shape. No underlying conditions. So I have this picture of me sitting in a wheelchair, and I can remember, they're trying to get me to walk. I thought I was going to walk out of this facility. I was very optimistic. I never walked out of there. I left there in an ambulance to another place for another 3 weeks of rehab, just learning how to walk, learning how to eat, learning how to brush my teeth. It's one of these things where this COVID just kind of took over your body and just made you a shell made me a shell of who I was. So I can remember specifically this particular day, the physical therapist, they had me in the wheelchair, and they get me up. And one of them took a couple of pictures and a video of me taking 1 or 2 steps, with the assistance of the therapist. And I couldn't wait for my wife to come that day. And she came. I said, hey, look at this picture and look at this video. I hadn't seen this yet. And I kid you not, I broke down because I didn't recognize the guy that was in that picture. That was I'm getting chills right now, thinking about it again. That was a very, very tough day to process that. And so that leads me into kind of what I want to say is, had I not had such a strong mental outlook on just life in general before, I've always been a very strong-minded, strong-willed person. I think something like this would literally just cave somebody in. When you look at what's potentially ahead of you, what do you have to go through to get through something like this? My wife talked me off the ledge so many times because I was broken. You don't realize, I've never been in the military, but PTSD obviously is a real thing in the military with military personnel and law enforcement and fire. It's a real thing in COVID recovery as well. The trauma that your body's gone through. I never had anxiety up until then. I started dealing with anxiety. You deal with depression. You deal with, mental fatigue, just so many things. But as you do each day, it's not a matter of what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. It's what am I going to do today? What's going to get me to tomorrow? You get to tomorrow, you do it all over again.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been my perspective, not only through life, just in general. But so anxiety, I don't necessarily deal with that really anymore. It pops up every now and then. Depression, definitely no. That was that period of my life, this whole COVID recovery. But I go home November 14th of 21. Again, very optimistic. I was thinking, oh, I'll be back to work by January or February. My goodness, I had no idea what the next year was going to hold for me and my family. So I basically did not work all of 22. So many people were talking about how bad the industry was. Didn't phase me one bit because I wasn't really working it, right? I was, we had made some good moves throughout our time, our life. So I didn't have to worry about finances, didn't have to worry about making an income. I just got to focus specifically on getting better. And my wife, she used up so much of her time to be home with me. She had tons and tons of work time, vacation, sick time. So we did it. We got through that period. I did it without even trying. I did, like I said, 16 deals and almost $8 million in volume, which, hey, that's, I know that those, like you said, those numbers aren't great numbers, but these were people that just called me throughout the year. I answered the phone, did a purchase or did a refi or did something.
Yeah.
It was just as and basically I just did the intake call, passed it to my assistant, who basically ran with it. And during this whole time, from when I was in the hospital, I just wanted to say the company I'm at, they closed out my whole pipeline from August to December and even partially into January. Like I said, we know back then we were cranking. Business was
Cranking.
there.
Yeah.
I think I closed 15 loans in August, and I was in the hospital. I mean, I didn't close them, but my company closed them. So I'm very super thankful for that. But the big thing is I look at a lot of loan officers right now are looking at like, man, and the more people I talk to, I find that there are some really, really broken people right now because of what's going on in the market. I was a little away from that because I wasn't working so much last year. But what I would say is, if you have the mindset of just, again, just keep going. One day, get through today, and then tomorrow, get through tomorrow. And what I'm doing now that I'm back to work, I joined Next Level a few months ago. I got into the
You went inside of Power 90.
Yep, I got into the Power 90, and what I'm doing is I'm focusing on those actions that matter. I'm going back to my basics because I'm essentially building my business again, right? I'm going back to my basics of contacting the database. I'm doing lunch and learns again. I have a lunch and learn tomorrow where we're bringing an appraiser out to do a Q&A with realtors on what's going on in the market. How can they better be better educated on listing their properties or understanding the true values of what's happening in certain areas. So I'm doing that. I started in August doing reels on Instagram. I'm like, I'm not going to push myself back out there yet, calling people, but I'm just going to start doing little 30 to 45-second videos. I've been doing that since August, very consistently. So that's part of my regimen now. I have probably over 100 videos in there now since August, just educational stuff. So I'm looking at it as, let's just go back to basics, drown out the noise, and just move forward. Put your head down, work, do things that work for you, that have worked in the past. And if you have to pivot into something new, pivot into something new. I don't mean business. I mean, try something different. I'm in this business for the long haul. I'm obviously 23 years. I'm not here to quit business. I'm here to just keep going one foot in front of the other each day.
So when you find out for one reason or another that a client use somebody else for a loan. 2 years ago, that probably made that heart rate increase, made the blood boil a little bit. It's still unfortunate now, but I bet it doesn't affect you the same way that it does.
It does
But it
not.
did.
And I'll share two recent stories. I have a VA buyer that's out here looking in about the 550 range. We pre-approved him, got him ready, got him shopping. A few days later, his agent calls me. Hey, he wants to look at a new build. Well, we all know at the new builds,
Mhm.
they're giving right now is very, very difficult for an outside lender to help them, right? So, hey, no big deal. Okay, I'm not going to sweat it. No big deal. So I'm losing that client to a builder. It happened again yesterday. I have another client looking another builder. This is 800,000 in Washington, and same thing. They go to this builder. This builder is saying that they're going to give them 2% in closing costs to buy down the rate and do all of these things. And there's just no way we can compete with that when you have those affiliations there between the builder and the lender. So again, yesterday I'm like, okay, no big deal. Like next, let's I don't fault those buyers for any of that. If somebody's throwing thousands of dollars at you, do it, take it. Now, but you are right. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that would have just flipped me out. Today, it it's just one of those things, that it happens. Okay, you can choose to stay in that space, or you could move on and get another qualified lead that you can help. Somebody else to educate and somebody else to get them into a home.
So what do you think 2023 has in store? What are your goals to close out the year? Uh, you're usually doing 20 to 30 million. Where do you think you can end up this year with where you started back in August of last year with Next Level, with Power 90, with all of the things that you're doing right now?
So since I'm getting back into things, I'm shooting for 60 deals, 5 deals a month, and I'm shooting for about 20 to 25 million.
Nice.
So I think I can make that work, because I'm a believer, Sean, that there's going to be a ton of opportunity for all of us. I say those of us that are left standing in this industry. I made it through '08, '09. This cycle is not going to knock me off, because this is nothing like '08. They're two totally different markets. For people to even compare, the only comparison is for me is that it was slow. It's slow now, but I just got to keep doing the things that I need to keep doing, and I think that's for any of us.
So I recently did a podcast with Bill Hart, and he was referencing to me that there were, although there's many more people licensed, or really like last year, there was about 100,000
Mm.
truly active originators. And he said that was down 40% this year. So, there is likely to be a little bit less loan volume this year, but there's so many less
Right.
loan officers this year. There's more volume for all of us. And I sure know that every day that I wake up with an abundance mentality, and ever since I switched my mindset, I've- you're in your 23rd year, I'm in my 22nd year. And when I, about a decade ago, decided I was going to stop living in a scarcity mindset and switch to a mindset of abundance, there was just a lot more business for everybody. And I
Yeah.
could share and I could tell everybody what I was doing. And most of them didn't act. I mean, and by most of them, I mean like 95% of them didn't act on it anyway. And, one of the guys who did, I actually recruited him, and we worked together for a really long time once I started sharing more. So, if as you're listening to this right now, like times are challenging, but
Mhm.
like it was just 2021. It was just a year and a half ago where we had more business than we knew what to do with. And those times are coming again. Rates, although they've gone up a little bit after trending down, they'll go down this year. We have good opportunities ahead of us. This mortgage industry is such an amazing place where we can make such an amazing living, have a life of abundance, a life of opportunity to be able to spend with our family and with our children, should we choose to accept it and look at it this way. And so you struck a chord with me earlier. Physical fitness is a huge part of my life, and I've done quite a few Spartan races. So when are you signing up for that Spartan race?
So I wanted to share this with you because I know you're a rucksacker, right?
Yes.
So let me tell you this first off. So I came home November 14th, 21. November 6th of 22, I did my first ever half marathon, but I did it walking because I can't run. Okay, it was a 4-hour half marathon because I walked it. Mind you, I still have some serious lung damage, but there was about 2 or 3 weeks left of my training, which was just a matter of walking. I literally just would walk around the neighborhood, go do 10 miles. I had a regimen. But the last 2 or 3 weeks, I said, I want to do a rucksack. So I filled up a sack with 10 pounds of weights. And the last 2 or 3 weeks, I trained with 10 pounds. I did the half marathon with 15 pounds of weight in my rucksack.
Wow.
For 10 miles. I could not finish the last 3, but you know what? I did 10. I did 10 miles with that rucksack on the half marathon. But my next goal is I want to do a sprint triathlon. It wouldn't be in open water, it would be in a pool for the swimming portion of it. But I have to work myself back because I used to ride my road bike all the time before I got sick. I took that up during COVID when all the gyms were closed.
Yeah.
So my next one is I want to do a sprint triathlon, and I'm working up to possibly. I just asked my wife the other day, "You think I'll ever do a Spartan?" She's like, "Anything's possible." My son, he's super fit. He's 36. He's done the beasts. I think he's working on his trifecta. He did his trifecta last year, and so he's I want to continue to get out there and do it with my kids, man. They're adults, but the first Spartan I did was with them, and we had
Awesome.
plans to do many more in 2020, but the world shut down.
Yeah, I did one a few years ago. I was signed up when the world shut down, but it's
Yep.
the sprint, the super, and the beast that
Yep.
that I did consecutively, and that was a lot of fun, man. John,
They're a blast.
I appreciate you joining us today. Thanks for the inspirational story. I hope everybody just took a few minutes to pause and really listen. I mean, nothing that we have in life is guaranteed tomorrow. I've been reading this year a lot on Stoicism from Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, and it's so interesting to read of these philosophers that lived a few thousand years ago. Marcus Aurelius is known as the philosopher king, and all of the things that we go through in our life today, and how we think of things are so divisive and this and that, like they all existed 2,000 years ago. It's just how we choose to look at those things. You know, don't take your life for granted. Don't act out in anger when you can just take a moment to breathe and act out in love with your family and your children. There's never a time where, and it's something that I struggle with sometimes. Really passionate guy, and sometimes it fuels me in not a positive way. But I never look back when I take that extra deep breath with my children and don't yell or don't get upset and be like, man, I wish I would have gotten upset. I wish I would have done it differently. I wish I wouldn't have done it in a calm way. And you've been a very great reminder again to me on that, John. I appreciate you. For anybody looking to find out more information on Next Level, you can go to nlstrategycall.com, book a call, get on with one of our coaches, and we'll help you a little bit with your business. It's just $197 a month to join us. You can join community for just $197 a year, but you get way more in value at $197 a month. My name's Sean Salmanoff. This is your Next Level Loan Officer podcast. I appreciate you all watching us on YouTube, listening to us on Spotify, or wherever you have today. Peace out, y'all.